People may well ask me, well, why do you bother protesting against the videos of one specific Catholic priest? And I believe this is a totally fair and justified question. And I think it is important to answer this question. Firstly, let me say that just in general, I believe that bullshit should be opposed. And that goes for every bullshit there is, regardless of whether it's religious bullshit, Christian bullshit, Muslim bullshit, Jewish bullshit, Buddhist bullshit, esoteric bullshit, homeopathy bullshit, I don't care. Even my own bullshit should be opposed by somebody, because that is the way that we develop more knowledge, and that is the way how we can develop ourselves ultimately. But talking specifically about Mr. Barron, let's first listen in on one of his videos.
I love that line, where it says, I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. Don't read it emotionally, as though God is falling in and out of emotional states, or as though God is defending some prerogative of his, or I'm jealous because you've, run off with somebody else. That's not the case with God. God has no needs. God needs nothing. Rather read it this way. God is jealous because he knows bad worship hurts us.
Okay, enough of this. I will not even comment on why this is complete and utter bullshit. It is so obvious that it doesn't need any more explanation, right? Any preacher anywhere of any religion will tell you this or other similarly illogical stuff, redefining words that we all know, attributing stuff to some kind of deity that you cannot possibly attribute to a deity, and so on and so forth. So why single out a Catholic priest? I once happened to know a guy who did not believe in the theory of relativity. And we had one or two lively discussions about that topic, obviously. I mean, it's just totally beyond me how you can, in the 21st century, in Central Europe, not accept the theory of relativity. I mean, obviously, most people just don't really understand it, and I do not claim to really have a grasp of it myself, but as far as I understand it, I obviously accept it. And even if you say that it's totally ridiculous at first glance and it totally defies any sane human intuition, which is true, you just have to accept, I guess, that it's been shown by experiments time and time and time and time and time and time again to be true, and at the very, very, very least, you just have to accept that the GPS system wouldn't work without this theory. So it makes no sense at all to reject that. However, when I think about that and then about this guy, well, I'm somehow torn between some sadness and lots of just fun. And I mean, that was just some random dude I got to know in a pub. He was had been unemployed for 15 years. I'm pretty sure he was an alcoholic, and I mean, he wasn't stupid, not at all. He was, I think, a fairly intelligent fellow, just rather timid and didn't have a lot of self-esteem, and probably didn't have too much luck throughout his whole life. Lived with his sister, couldn't afford his own flat. You know, a guy like that, somehow from my perspective, I cannot be mad at someone like that for having very weird opinions sometimes. And of course, a guy like that just doesn't have all that much of an impact upon society. Okay. So if we compare this guy to Mr. Barron, here we have a very outspoken, very intelligent, learned man. He has a very good way with words, uh, can express himself elegantly, and is definitely very charming in the way he does things, much more so than me, I'll admit. And this guy and guys like him, he's not the only one, there are a lot of them. He has a doctor's degree in theology. And even if theology is obviously a hokum pseudoscience, uh, the curriculum includes real sciences to a very high degree. You have to learn about philosophy. Um, you study lots of history, some archaeology, languages. It is a challenging thing. If somebody like that takes the Munchausen trilemma and opts for one of the three equally impossible options and does not present even one argument for it, at least not a valid one, but just says, oh, this is how it is, then that's disingenuous, dishonest, and despicable. And on top of that, I think it's rather sad, really. I mean, I see a, I suppose, great mind actually, totally imprisoned by beliefs in irrational concepts and totally bogged down by that. And it's really a sad thing to see. But apart from that, a part of me is angry about that. Because, this has an impact. Guys listen to people like that, people in black robes, people who wear the priestly scarf, people who are backed by a large and very wealthy and very powerful organization. And people like that, I think, if they do a public announcement like that as part of their job, then they should be held to professional standards. And the professional standard for philosophers, for historians, should, in my opinion, be that they present actual arguments, and that they not just ramble on what that church has told them and just present dogmas for facts, which they are not, and just present metaphysical inventions as objective facts, which they are not. This, my friend, is dishonesty. And on top of that, this is arrogance. It's funny when people tell me that I'm being arrogant. Sorry, guys, no. presenting your beliefs as if they were objective fact, and then refusing to present any good argument. That is arrogant. And that is behavior that just shows how terribly, terribly small the intellectual world of Catholicism really is. And how insecure this powerful organization really is at its core. And believing that a castle made of cards like that, built upon a sandy foundation like that, has survived for so long and is still rampant and going wild in the world. That's, well, to some degree, it's amusing and it's amazing, but on the other hand, it's frightening. And it should make me and it should make you angry and it should have us fucking up in arms.